Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi has said that all slots for grade 1 and grade 8 pupils for 2022's online submissions have been filled. Now, to discuss this with us further, I'm joined by the spokesperson, Steve Mabona. Steve, thank you so much and good afternoon to you. This really is some good news for parents and for the department.
Good afternoon, Seho, and all our viewers. Yes, indeed. You remember that MEC has committed that by the end of January, we should be done with this process. And we are then glad to inform that we have placed everyone who applied online. I'm talking about the grade 1 and 8. And you will know that there are those that would have appealed. And we have managed to look at their appeals. Out of the 1,400, we have agreed with about 71 of those that we felt that their cases had merit. And over 1,300, we said no. We think that we will give you the alternative schools that we gave you, and we'll continue with that process.
The issue, of course, of appeals is one that has happened every year with various difficulties for parents. In what sense do you then allow for the appeal to go through, for a parent to allow for their child to go to a specific school? And in what other angle do you then say you will stick, that the parents must then stick with the school that has been offered to them?
You know, remember, parents that would have applied at a school which they will say is their first preference, there will be probably too many of them for the school to accommodate. Like, for instance, if a school has about 350 spaces, but then you have just about 2,000, surely, you know, the other 1,700, they will, one or the other, would not be, you know, happy. They will complain. They will want to lodge their appeals because they feel that they must be accommodated at that school. So when you look into those cases and then we check and see that, look, there's no way that we'll be in a position to accommodate, you know, checking on the admission regulations, and we will then say no, we would not be in a position to accommodate. Because, like, we can't have a school of like grade 8, if we were to put it that way. Because if we were to take all 2,000, let's say, this is my preferred school and I want this one or nothing, then we will not be in a position to accommodate. That's why we then have alternative space, which will then be saying we accommodate you here in the neighboring school, and we should be in a position to continue. You need to look at the numbers. Let's look at the numbers, because people are saying they have a problem with the system, but let's look at the numbers. Over 347 people that we have placed in our schools using the system. Out of that, you have then the 1,400 that would have said no, we are complaining, and those are the ones that would have went to all platforms in the media, in our social media space. They would have complained there and said no, we are not satisfied, the system must be scrapped and all that. But now in January, on the 12th of January, we opened late registration. Over 25,000 of those that we would have placed at that time. So we placed there over 25,000. It can tell you that the system works very well, because they applied through the system, they found schools in the system, and they managed to choose those schools. 25,000, only in January. I'm not talking about when we opened the system. So you can tell that the system works very well. But MEC has instructed that we need to review the system and check on those complaints. There might not have been many of them, of the complaints, but we need to listen in to check on those things that their parents are raising, and make sure that we enhance the system so that when we open for 2023, then the system will be ready to deal with those issues that we think that they would have been resolved. Because scrapping the system, it's something that we are not even thinking about. Because if we can place so much people utilizing the system, then it means there's nothing wrong with the system. Because if we were to make an example for you, there are those that might have went to schools to say, I need grade 2, grade 3 upwards up until 7. Some they went to high schools and said they want from grade 9 to grade 11. They are at our district offices as we speak. Every day they are coming there to say, school X could not accommodate me because they told me that they are full. So we have a responsibility to interact with them, the district, the schools, and make sure that we accommodate them. And they are not utilizing the system. So if we blame the system that is not working, meanwhile we still have people that are not accommodated, that are not utilizing the system. So it can tell you that the issue at hand here is capacity.
Steve, we actually really need to be honest about this. Every year there are issues with the system. I hear you saying that the MEC has said that you need to relook it, and that really was going to be my question. Are there plans to relook at this system? Every single year, people even apply on the online system, and they are still not satisfied, or they still don't get placement in time, which then means that children lag behind in actually starting their schooling year. What is going to be the bigger picture and the bigger plan for the system come the applications later this year for the following academic year?
But Silko, we need to look at the numbers. We must not, not look at the numbers, because education is about numbers. If we say we play so much through the system, we can also not ignore that fact. Yes, we know that there are those that will complain. And surely, if I'm not accommodated at a school that I think it's my preferred school, is my school of choice, surely I will complain. But we are saying, yes, let's go back and check on the system. If there are things that we need to enhance further, we will do that. We'll enhance the system. But I can assure you that the issue of capacity, we have made inroads. We are giving schools money to build more classes. It's about 240 million that we are giving to schools. And last week we launched, classes in Bordeaux, primary school. They gave us 8 classes. You might have seen those classes. So we will also fast track the process of building schools, because we know that our challenge is capacity, is not the system. So once we build those schools, which we are going to use a different mechanism of building schools, not utilizing probably Department of Infrastructure, though they still have a responsibility to build some of the schools that would have given to them. But we feel that as a department, we need to augment that process and make sure that we build schools in the areas where we are high pressure. Then we know those areas. Then we will be in a position to say we don't have a challenge. But yes, we will review and make sure that we accommodate. But we must also always, all the time, let's look at the numbers.
Steve, we do know the MEC has often spoken about the issue of people actually coming into the province. And as you've now mentioned, that there are numbers, the numbers keep increasing every year, and that then obviously creates a problem for the application system, the online application process, which you're now saying that you will review. Are there concerns about overcrowding in schools at this point? You'll be building more schools, more classrooms, but right now, as we speak, are there concerns about overcrowding because of more people that actually come into the Gauteng province?
Yes, as an interim measure, which we had to accommodate, and we know that MEC will always tell you that it doesn't like mobiles, but we had to utilize mobile units. So we supplied mobile units just to make sure that we augment those spaces and accommodate more so that we avoid overcrowding. With where we are challenged in terms of capacity, parents will say, no, can you have my child only? I'm talking for only my child, it's only one. But forgetting that the other parent will also come and say, no, it's only one. So once you overcrowd a school, then you will have a challenge where the SGB with the parents will want to take you to court to say, no, you can't overcrowd our school. We think that the school is full. So we must balance and make sure that we work with all our stakeholders. Where we have full, we really need to, plead with parents to say, let's work together. Let's take the alternative space, and the more we increase classrooms and then we build those new schools, they will be in a position to assist us. Yes, indeed, there's quite a number of people that want to come to Gauteng. You know, it's not only the economic hub, but also the quality of education that we provide. We launched schools of specialization. Other people from other provinces, they envy what we're doing in Gauteng. We've launched 16 of schools of specialization, and this year we'll be launching about 12, which is something that we are proud of. That's why when coming to the grade 12s, we really don't compete with other provinces. We look at enhancing and making sure that we improve the quality of education in Gauteng, and other things will take care of themselves.
Steve, how's it going at the moment with the primary school learners being back in school full-time, all of them being back in school? How's that process going now?
Well, it's not in all the areas. Where numbers are big, you can't have all of them, but majority of our schools are coping with all learners coming back, on an everyday basis. But where we have where we experienced overcrowding or quite a number of those that would not conform to the COVID-19 regulations, then we still continue with rotation. But we are hopeful that learners will be allowed to come back. I mean, the minister has already announced that they are working tirelessly to make sure that they change, the situation whereby they will be saying probably all learners must come back, and they will be happy because we've lost so much. And we've been saying, in the primary school level, that's where, learners need to grasp with the most especially the foundation phase. If you miss that, you will not be the same. So that's why we are really hopeful that learners will be allowed to come back to schools on an everyday basis.
Now, let's just go back then to our conversation around the online applications, Steve. Do we know at this stage when that will open again for the coming year? I know we are still in January, but any plans at the moment as to when the online applications will open for the next academic year?
No, not as yet, because remember, officials are working tirelessly now to review as per the instruction. So they need to check and then make sure that we know on how we're going to be managing. But the review goes hand in glove with preparations. While they review, but also prepare on how we're going to be enhancing. Because remember, our system, we enhance it every year. We would have experienced some of the challenges, and we will know that we need to make sure that we avoid, some of those teething, challenges, probably in the first 2 days of the application, and we need to make sure that we don't have those challenges. So we'll announce, but parents need to be mindful that by next week, we'll announce a date when we're going to close the system, because the system is still on now for late applications. But in the next coming week, we should be in a position to say this day is the last day for late registration, because we can't open it forever. We need to now make sure that the review and the preparations continues while the system is off.
Steve Mabona is the spokesperson for the Gauteng Education Department. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.